What's up, everyone? I am here back at home, ready to start a new semester, ready to start a new year. Super excited and motivated. I hope you enjoyed my couple little clips. I took like a nice week-long break between graduation and getting back to work. And then on the 4th of January, right when the year started, I headed to DC for a career fair and had some interviews over there. I'm looking for internships and things like that. So today, I really want to talk about the three main underlying reasons why I chose VNS. There's a lot of factors that went into play here, and I think that the biggest thing to stress is that it is an individual decision based on your scenario and your type of epilepsy that affects you. Because for me, motivation played a big part, and so I want to jump into this starting with number 3 and then working to number 2 and then working to number 1 as the least important up to the most important. With that being said, these are the 3 main reasons. So these reasons are extremely important and none of them should be surpassed. At the same time, I think that a lot of the questions that I get on this channel, or almost 100% of the questions, are from people who are looking to turn to VNS because other things haven't worked, which is awesome. And it's really the reason I'm here and the reason I started doing these videos. So I don't want to do anything else or make any other videos until I really answer kind of the main reasons that this was a cause for me. And like I said, this is an extremely personal decision. It's personal based on your case, but it's also personal based on your doctor and what your doctor thinks that you should do. So definitely talk to your doctor. It is a huge decision. It's definitely a huge decision. And if it's made through the right avenues and with the right motivation in mind, it can be either a great decision or it could be the wrong decision. And I'm not saying, I'm not advocating for this or trying to advertise the vagal nerve stimulator. I think that it's just another option out there, just like everything else. And I'm just going to let you guys know why I chose it, so that hopefully, you can just make a better educated decision with all the information out there. I'm going to try to make this as unbiased as possible. And I just want to say as a disclaimer, yes, it's worked for me for the following reasons, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I don't want you to think, yes, VNS, like I'm here to promote VNS and I want you to turn to VNS. It's not like that at all. You guys all know that even doctors have a hard time prescribing the right type of treatment for epilepsy because there's so many different factors at play in everyone's scenario. So let's get started. So number 3 is, and one of the main stipulations for actually getting prescribed or recommended the vagal nerve stimulation implant surgery by your doctor is if medication doesn't work. So I think with the doctor's perspective, if you've tried at least 2 or more medications, anti-epileptic drugs, and they haven't worked for you to decrease seizure volume, then this is basically step 1 in, okay, let's seek, further avenues of treatment. So for me, medication didn't work. I was on about 5 or 6 different types of medication, those main ones being Keppra and Depakote, which I believe are kind of standard across the board. I was on a lot of Depakote before, and when it wasn't working, they basically just kind of started adding all sorts of different medications, all the few and far in between types of medications. So I landed on a lot of Depakote and a lot of Keppra. And Keppra is kind of really what did it for me. Depakote really gave me that foggy, like I'm in a fog, I can't think clearly, I'm tired all the time, I'm sleeping during the day, not sleeping at night, kind of just what's really kind of standard across the board with anti-epileptics, that mental suppression. But Keppra brought about this entirely new sort of psychosis for me, and it caused my dreams to it made crazy things happen in my mind, and it made me very irritable, and it made me extremely angry and mood swings, and I had always been a happy person, and I think it was really kind of that real big factor for the onset of depression for me. And I'm going to go into videos later on about medication and the actual effects that I had from each medication, because I think that's extremely important. Everyone reacts differently, but the side effects that I had. So heavy depression, crazy psychosis, really just tired and exhausted all the time. And then ultimately medication made me kind of drop out of school. So it's what pulled me away from what I wanted to do. It pulled me away from the goals and aspirations. It pulled me away from the excitement I had in life. And not only that, well, we'll get to that later, but it just didn't work. I was still having seizures, and I was in school and I was taking medication. I couldn't drive, I was riding the bus to school. I was taking medications. I'm just starting off at college, still having seizures. Up to 3,000 milligrams of this crap every single day, and I'm still having seizures. Like, I need something that works. Like, I need something that's gonna actually be effective for me. So when I started, letting my doctor know, like, look, this isn't working, and he knew it wasn't working. I'm sick of switching medications. I'm sick of not being in school. Like, I had to pull myself out of school because I just couldn't do it. There's really no other way to explain it. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. I couldn't do my work. And so he said, all right, let's see if maybe you're a candidate for brain surgery. Epileptic brain surgery for partial onset seizures. They'll go in with a scalpel and they'll slice out a little chunk of your brain where the focal point is. So what they did is I went into the hospital for a week where they conducted the EEG, or electroencephalogram, if I'm saying that correctly, which is essentially a sleep study where they attach, for me, they attached 30 electrodes to my head, kind of like all up the middle and then down the sides there, and I had kind of this real cool, they put it all in like a little nice ponytail of wires for me. And I was in the bed for a year. A week. I was in the bed for a week, and they were monitoring my brain activity while I was sleeping. They tried all sorts of different things. So the goal for that week I was in the hospital was, let's make this guy have a seizure so that we can find out where the seizure activity is coming from, because they had the electrodes attached to all these different sort of points. It's actually really cool. It wasn't cool at the time for me, but so what they did is they took me off my medication for a point. I was still taking it, but they just dropped it down a little bit. They made me fast for a time, took away my food. They shined strobe lights in my eyes, which was the worst, and no matter what they did, they couldn't get me to like have a seizure while I was there. And I think a lot of it was because they actually, I kind of had this mindset where I was like, all right, like I'm gonna like not have a seizure, and I was kind of really stubborn about it. And I was just kind of relaxed, even though they did all these things to try to stress my body out. The hardest point was that I wasn't very, the onset of seizures for me wasn't very standard of what normal people. I've never really had a seizure from strobe lights like a lot of people may. Never, had a seizure from fasting. I've never had, the medication didn't really work too much for me in the first place. So when they took it away, it was very interesting. Anyways, they did actually notice seizure activity. I didn't have like a full onset seizure, but they did take away, find some seizure activity in my brain while I was asleep, a little spike of seizure activity while I was asleep. And so they were able to categorize my epilepsy as idiopathic generalized epilepsy, which means that instead of being focalized or starting at one specific point in the brain, my seizures occur in the entire brain all at once. So, when I have a seizure, they're generalized grand mal seizures. I black out and just hit the ground and start going hard. So I wasn't a candidate for brain surgery. There was no way that, they could slice out a piece of my brain, because they'd have to cut out my whole brain. And, no one's doing that. No one is doing that. So when my doctor had kind of found out that, all right, we've confirmed that it's proven you have a generalized idiopathic type of epilepsy, you're intolerant to basically 2 or more, about 5 different medications or combinations thereof medication, we are allowed to basically recommend you for this other treatment. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. You're telling me that I can have a treatment that is where I don't have to take a ton of pills every day, and where I don't have to remember to take my pills every day, and I could even lessen my medication, and it is going to cause me a little bit of seizure relief just on a consistent basis. I was like, let's go for it. And I know that a lot of people do have some issues with, I have a device in my chest. It's like, I don't want this foreign object in my chest. And that is a big hurdle to overcome. But for me, it was not big enough. I had completely pushed that to the wayside. I wanted to get my life back. And that brings me to the number one reason. I wanted to seize every single moment. That's the number one reason. And I don't mean I wanted to have a seizure every single moment of my life. That the intro is seize your life. I want to seize. I want to take back. I want to control every single moment and minute of my life. When I was on medication, I couldn't do that. I couldn't even drive. I couldn't leave the house. I had no control of what was going on. I had no control over my own mind, because I couldn't even do the work that I wanted to do. I couldn't even do things that made me passionate without being afraid of not being mentally capable of doing those things. So the number one reason was just that I didn't want my life back. I wanted to have the capability to create a new and fulfilling life. And when I say I didn't want my life back, I know a lot of you guys are like, I just want things to be the way they were before epilepsy, or before seizures. Epilepsy and VNS and seizure medication, and this entire situation has completely changed my perspective and outlook, path, and goals for life. So I didn't have the aspiration to be the person I was before. I wanted to be able to build something new, and I wanted to have that capability to be able to build something new. And the medication really did, along with the seizures, really, and dropping out of school and the whole cause of that, really did bring me that kind of onset of depression and just, why am I here? What is my purpose if I'm just gonna be at home on pills having seizures all day long? So just a quick review. Number 3, the medication didn't work. Number 2, I wasn't a candidate for surgery because of my generalized epilepsy. And number 1, I wanted to take control of every single moment and be able to accomplish whatever it is that I set out to do. And that is really the main reason. And yeah, I did go in with a little bit of, hey, this might not work. But I was able to kind of have the confidence going in that it would work, that I have convinced myself that it's working. And, by way of having that confidence going into it, I think that, that's really a huge aspect if you are considering this. I think you really just need to be confident in your decision that it's going to be something positive, and it's going to bring about positive effects in your life. Because if you're living with a device in your chest that you look at as a foreign object, and you look at it as something that is just not helping you, and you look at it as something as a parasite rather than something that's actually attributing to your life and attributing to your success and your capability, then I think that that's a huge part of those benefits. And those are the 3 main reasons. I hope that you guys got something out of it, and I look forward to talking to you guys about some of the effects that I experienced from seizure medication.